If you like crime fiction, today's video is for you. Today, I'm tier ranking 13 crime, hard-boiled, and noir novels, similar to what I did last year, where I ranked 50 noir gems. I'll link to that video down below. It's quite popular. I always get comments about that. So I figured I'd continue to do this every year. So this year I've only got 13 because I've only pulled from books I've read recently. A couple of these go back to when I did that video, but most of them are pretty recent. So before I get into the tier ranking, let's do a little homework. I've got a couple definitions for us about noir and hard-boiled. This first one is about noir, and it comes from Otto Penzler. Otto Penzler is a huge figure in crime fiction publishing and in noir publishing. He's brought a lot of really great writers to the forefront. He tells us that noir works. On the other hand, whether films, novels, or short stories are existential, pessimistic tales about people, including or especially protagonists who are seriously flawed and morally questionable. The tone is generally bleak and nihilistic, with characters whose greed, lust, jealousy, and alienation lead them into a downward spiral as their plans and schemes inevitably go awry. The machinations of their relentless lust will cause them to lie, steal, cheat, and even kill as they become more and more entangled in a web from which they cannot possibly extricate themselves. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a damn good story to me. So that's a definition of noir. Hard to argue with that. And we've got a definition of hard-boiled from Megan Abbott, who is a great author and also an academic. She tells us hard-boiled is distinct from noir, though they're often used interchangeably. The common argument is that hard-boiled novels are an extension of the Wild West and pioneer narratives of the 19th century. The wilderness becomes the city, and the hero is usually a somewhat fallen character, a detective or a cop. At the end, everything is a mess, people have died, but the hero has done the right thing or close to it, and order has, to a certain extent, been restored. Noir is different. In noir, everyone is fallen, and right and wrong are not clearly defined, and maybe not even attainable. Okay, so all of these books definitely touch on both of those points. We can argue about which ones are noir, which ones are hard-boiled, which ones are neither. We can argue about that in the comments below. But let's get into it with 13 hard-boiled crime and or noir books. First one I've got here is Hubert Selby Jr. I'm a huge Hubert Selby Jr. fan. I've read tons of his books. This one is called The Demon. This is a little bit different than some of his other books, but a little bit the same, I guess. It's not necessarily a crime book, but I would definitely put it in noir. And there's definitely lust is a huge factor in this book. It's basically the story of a guy who is a bit of a mad shagger. He's a bit of a ladies' man. He tends to shag married women, tries to reform himself, and basically doesn't know what to do with himself. And all of this energy, I guess, that he would use in his pursuit of married women comes out in all the wrong ways. I'm not going to give any more plot details there. It's a great book. It's a really overlooked book. Selby Jr. is best known for Last Exit to Brooklyn and Requiem for a Dream, which of course became an incredibly horrifying movie. This is a really great book, especially if you are a reader of somebody like Jim Thompson. I think you would really like this book, and I'm going to give it, it's not his best, but it's pretty damn good. So we're going to start out with an A-level book there. Okay, next one is Driven by James Sallis. I cheated a little bit. I've read this a couple times before, but I did reread it just because I really like it. This is the sequel to Drive, which is one of my favorite crime books, also one of my favorite crime movies. Book and movie are very, very different. Movie, of course, starring the incredibly handsome Ryan Gosling. This is a continuation of the story, which kind of gives away the ending of the first book, if you couldn't figure that out. This is the sequel. Driver, in the book, Driver does live. So not quite as good as the original. and it's a little less, it's definitely less intense, and it has less of that kind of essence that Drive has. So I'm going to give this one, yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a B. I mean, it's a good book, and B, you know, B is a good grade, but it doesn't quite hit the mark that Drive hits. Okay, next one is Last King of California by Jordan Harper. I am a massive Jordan Harper fan. I caught on to him quite a while ago when his first book of short stories came out, Love and Other Wounds. She Rides Shotgun, one of my favorite books. Also, Everybody Knows, again, one of my favorite books. This is recently available in the US. It's been available, I think, in the UK and elsewhere for quite a while. It's within the same sort of crime world as She Rides Shotgun, but it's a very different story. It's kind of a coming of age story about a young guy. I think he's about 18 or maybe 19 years old. And his father is a huge crime kingpin. He's tried to get away from that life, but has failed to make anything of himself, comes back home to sort of take up the mantle. It's very much hard-boiled, and it definitely fits in with that definition of hard-boiled that we just read, and that it's a story in which a character must restore order to a very chaotic world. I didn't think it was fantastic, but it's pretty damn good. In fact, it's really damn good. It's a great read. It's a great hard-boiled read. So I'm going to give it an A. I didn't think it's S tier, but it's damn good. And I hope they make it into a movie because it'll just make a hell of a movie. Okay. All right. The next one is The Wheelman by Duane. I don't know how to pronounce this last name. Duane Swierczynski. I'm sorry about that. This is a great hard-boiled novel about a deaf and mute, hope I got that right, getaway driver, which is a great trope that just I think is not used enough, or at least I haven't read it enough to really appreciate, you know, what can be done with it. Great hard-boiled writing. Duane is a great writer. I think this is one of his better books. And I think it's one of the better of the genre, but it's not S tier level. So yeah, let's give it an A. All right. Okay. Next one, From Blue to Black by Joel Lane. Definitely not a crime book, but definitely a noir book. And if you're a reader of crime and noir, I think you're really going to enjoy this book and really be surprised by it. I did talk about this in one of my other videos, and kind of my Great Books No One Talks About videos. So I won't go into it too much. It's a rock and roll story and a love story, but more than anything else, it's a tragedy. And it's very much written in a noir style in terms of like atmosphere and mood, settings, set pieces, and how the setting is a character in the story and really can dominate the story and kind of dictate where the story is going. It's about a bass player who joins a post-punk band called Triangle. And at the same time of joining the band, he starts a relationship with the lead singer and lead guitarist, who is somebody who's very, very gifted, but also very troubled and really struggling with mental health issues and identity issues and things like that. Fantastic book. Loved this book. One of the best books I've read this year. This is definitely an S tier book. Okay. All right. Next one, Motel Life, Willy Vlautin. I did a video on this book also a while ago. I can't remember when I did this. Maybe I did this last year. I'm not sure, but kind of a crime book. I mean, there's a murder in the book. Definitely a noir book, and definitely more in the vein of kind of country noir or rural noir. It's set in Nevada, and it's about two brothers who are absolute losers, two beautiful losers, although maybe not so beautiful really, but they're definitely losers in society, just kind of trying to get by, have nothing going on for them, have nothing to help them out in life really. definitely part of the underserved parts of society. One of them makes a massive F up, kills a young boy in a hit and run accident. And from there, their life just quickly becomes unraveled. It's really good. It's really tragic. And if you're not reading Willy Vlautin, you really need to be reading Willy Vlautin, especially if you're a reader of noir fiction. Vlautin, fantastic writer. I need to read more of his stuff. So this one, definitely an S tier. Okay, next up, The Last Good Kiss. James Crumley. James Crumley, big name in crime fiction, definitely a hard-boiled writer. This book, I don't know. I really wanted to like this book because I had heard so much about it, and he's a writer who's highly regarded in the field. I found it really problematic. On a sentence level, the writing is excellent, and the plotting is excellent as well too. And it has that kind of, although it's written in a hard-boiled style, it does have some noir element in that there is a bit of existential soul searching on behalf of the main character, who's a kind of private investigator guy. But the problems I had with this book, it's very much a book of its times. It's very sexist and racist. And I just I had a hard time with it. I don't know. This is kind of something hard to articulate, and I think it's the subject for another video. I think it's a book that its time has passed. So I'm going to give it a C. I mean, if you're a lover of crime writing, Crumley is someone that's at least worth reading one of his books. And this might be the book that you like. There's a lot of humor in it. It's not a terrible book, but I felt that a lot of the language and the content and the stereotyping of characters dragged it down. I guess that's probably the right way to put it. Okay, next one is The Slanted Gutter, S. Craig Zahler. Zahler writes like splatter westerns, and he's also written some screenplays, and I think he's even produced and directed, one of which is one of my favorite movies, which I can never get the title right, but it's something like Fight in Cell Block 13 or something like that. Incredible movie. This book, I don't know. It wasn't what I expected, because the films of his that I've seen are really tight and great movies, jumping off of kind of where Reservoir Dogs left us, with really tight storytelling and also a really inventive narrative structure, but also effective narrative structure. I felt that this was really pulpy. And I couldn't quite figure out, is he going for entertainment or is he serious about some of this stuff? So I'm going to give it, it's not a bad book, and it has some great moments to it. The prose is quite good. The storytelling is very effective. It's very fast paced. So anyone who's a lover of crime writing, especially in the vein of someone like Mickey Spillane, Mickey Spillane, definitely, you're going to like this book. I'm going to give it a B, because I felt that it was just kind of missing some of those deeper elements that I personally look for, those existential discussions, both on behalf of the characters and within the narrative and within the settings and things like that. So I felt like it kind of missed the mark in that sense, but it's not a bad book. Definitely give it a B. All right, the next one, Rush, Kim Wozencraft. I've talked about this book also in another video, another one of my great books no one talks about videos. Great novel of the drug war in the 80s, of a female cop who gets drafted into becoming an undercover vice cop, basically. Falls in love with her partner, gets hooked on drugs, and everything goes wrong and terrible, and really nothing goes the way it's supposed to go. It's much more about her relationship with her partner, and also her addiction and his addiction, and how that really just pulls their lives apart and really just brings them nothing but pain So it's a very, very, very good book. Also a movie. I still haven't seen the movie, but I'll definitely check it out sometime. This book is great. I think it's really overlooked within, crime and noir. So going to give this an S, definitely an S tier book. It's just fantastic. I can't say enough good stuff about it. Okay, next one is The 1%, Tales of the Super Wealthy and Depraved. Great title. I picked this up on a whim. It's from Rock and a Hard Place Press. I like some of the other short story collections and kind of journals or publications, magazines. I don't know what we call these things anymore. But they specialize in crime fiction, hard-boiled fiction. This was a collection of short stories, and I felt like it kind of felt short. There's a few gems in there. Thematically, these stories are basically all about kind of people seeking out revenge on a-hole billionaire types, which, it's cool. I can definitely get behind it. I just felt that it didn't quite, a lot of stories didn't quite land, didn't really quite pack the punch. Crime writing generally doesn't lend itself to the short story. It does lend itself to the short novel and, of course, the long novel. But in the short story, it's really hard to kind of pull that off. And I felt that a lot of these stories were just kind of more pulp than anything else. And I don't really have a great love or a great taste of pulp. So I'm going to give this one also a C. Definitely, if you're a completist or really into the genre, you'll find something you enjoy here, but not an essential book, not an essential reading. Okay. All right. Next one, Tijuana Straits, Nunn. Absolutely love this book. Before I go any further, bang, it's an S level. Absolutely fantastic book in the crime and noir genre because it is so much more than that. Nunn writing is absolutely fantastic. He just nails it. He really just hits it out of the park. He gets kind of labeled as surf noir, and it is a surf noir in the sense that we've got a surfer and there's noir, but it's so much more than that. I did talk about this in another video, which I can link below. Long story short, we've got a washed out surfer who has completely effed up his life and is now a worm farmer near the beach in San Diego. And Tijuana, of course, is just across the river there. Across the river, we have a woman who's an attorney, kind of an investigative attorney, and she's trying to find out how she can sue a very wealthy American industrialist whose factories are poisoning people in Tijuana. She gets run off the road. Unbeknownst to her, she crosses over the border through the river and things like that. And the surfer, his name is Sam, finds her, and he joins forces with her, and they try to figure out what's going on. The people who ran her off the road are absolute crazed killers. So we've got a great trope there of the sort of killer on the road who then tracks them down. And then this kind of story like really quickly switches, and which is something that Nunn is really great at doing. He's really great at foreshadowing that a major event is coming, but then when that major event comes, you're just like, whoa, I didn't think it was going to be that. And in this book, that becomes, the story shifts over to becoming a kind of survivalist thing, which is really cool because the guy who's the surfer uses his knowledge of a massive wave, which is going to break soon, that he had intended to surf, and he kind of uses that to his advantage. Sounds really sappy when you explain it, but the book is amazing because Nunn is a noir writer, but he's also a naturalist in that he's really great at describing and using the natural setting of the beach and this kind of wasteland of San Diego beach and the wasteland of the Tijuana River. It's just an element in the story, and it's ever present, and the surfer's connection with the surf and the water and the beach is ever present as well too. Really great book. It's hard to describe the plots in that book without it just sounding like, what? Like that sounds like a bad movie. but it's not. It's actually a really fantastic piece of writing, and Kem Nunn, really great writer. Okay, this video is not all about Kem Nunn, but it sounds like it. Next one is another Kem Nunn book that I did read. I read this with Matt from Books from the Back Porch. And this is Kem Nunn's first novel called Tapping the Source. And before I go any further, I'm going to give this one an A. I thought Tijuana Straits was a superior book for a couple of reasons that I'll talk about. Tapping the Source was Nunn's first novel. It infamously was morphed partially into Point Break, which I have never seen and I need to watch it. But it's not Point Break the book. I think they just took certain elements and certain characters and created a new story to become Point Break. This is kind of a coming of age story. And it's more hard-boiled than noir in the sense that we have a character who has to do something in a kind of lawless area in order to restore law and to dispel chaos. And that character is a young man whose sister has gone missing, and he hears from some guys who just kind of drive up to his house and tell he and his uncle, I think it's his uncle, that he knows the guys who were with his sister when she disappeared. He tells them the names, tells them where at the beach where he can find them, and that they're surfers. This guy is kind of a loser, but strikes out to find out what happened, loses his way, gets into drugs. The narrative takes a really dark turn midway through the book. I won't give details, but it involves a lot of sex and drugs. I found it quite disturbing and shocking, but it's written really well. And one of the signs that it's written well is that it's disturbing and shocking and not just titillating and pornographic. So from there, I can't give away much more. It is an excellent book. Nunn's writing, this is his first book, and the writing in it is just absolutely superb. It doesn't fall into the pitfalls and traps and tropes of so much crime writing that sort of drags down so much crime writing. He's definitely a literary writer, definitely a literary crime writer, definitely a literary hard-boiled writer. And he's definitely able to take the tropes and the frameworks of those genres and really push them and create something new. Okay, last book for today, The Cambodian Book of the Dead by Tom Vate. I have talked about this in other videos. This absolutely fantastic book, not quite an S-level book, but it's a really great book. Tom Vate is a journalist in Southeast Asia, kind of specializing in Thailand, Cambodia, Nepal, India. Does a lot of travel writing, a lot of journalism work, and he has also written some great crime novels, and this is the first of these. He's got a character called Detective Maher, and basically we have a missing person, and the private detective is hired to locate and find this person and find out, why have they gone missing? And that happens very quickly. And then a whole nother story unravels, and it's quite the doozy, involving drugs, the Khmer Rouge, revolutions in Cambodia, Cambodian culture. Really amazing book. And the book is a really strong testament to Vader's love for Cambodia, for Khmer culture, and his interest in the fall of the Khmer Rouge and all the strange political, socio-economic things that are happening there. I loved this book. I've been to Cambodia. I've been to those places. It's kind of around the time that some of this was written. I was also there, so it's highly accurate. Unfortunately, it can be a strange and horrific place. It can also be a very beautiful and touching place, and the Cambodian people are very definitely, beautiful and touching people who have gone through absolute hell. And the book has a lot of that in it. I didn't give it an S because it has almost too much in it. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of plot twists and turns, almost too much. And there's a lot of love for Cambodia in it. And if you're not into that, you're probably not going to like this book. But if you are into that, and if you're interested in it, if you want like a noir story in an exotic environment that's not told in a kind of titillating or, racist way, this is good. Tom Vader is definitely a great writer. I need to read more of these novels. I just haven't quite gotten around to it yet. Okay, so there you go. We've got some S level books, A, B, C. No Fs, no duds at all. Those are 13 crime, noir, and hard-boiled books ranked for you. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you have any thoughts, if you think I missed the mark on some of these, and let me know if you've got any suggestions. Leave your comments below. Okay. We are done. We can stop OBS. I hope this all worked.